everybody, Chef Sally again. It's lunchtime and I'm going to use some of the leftover ham, the honey baked ham that I had from Easter. So I'm going to make a grown-up ham and cheese sandwich. So first I'm going to take some regular white bread. I use the farmhouse white. And I'm going to take some jalapeno pepper jelly. And I'm going to put this on here. If you don't like pepper jelly, you can use whatever other fruit kind of flavored, something sweet on the bread. It just gives it a nice contrast of flavor. And when you see the cheese that I'm going to use, it just complements it nicely. But you could use strawberry preserves or even marmalade if you liked it. Some tomato jam, just something that's got kind of a sweet, savory component to it, because it's going to contrast nicely with the cheese and the ham that I'm going to put on the sandwich. So just do a nice even coat of the jalapeno jelly, and then I'm going to add a layer of cheese. I've got Swiss that I'm going to put right in the middle, and then I've got some camembert that I had left over from a wine and cheese little get-together that I had. So I just cut it into little pieces, and I cut the rind off because I'm a big baby and I don't like it. So I'm just going to kind of spread that out evenly on the bread, and it kind of falls apart. One trick to slicing camembert or brie, it's very similar to brie. It's nice and creamy and very soft. You could use goat cheese too. I love goat cheese. I just didn't happen to have any at the moment. And a flavored goat cheese would be even better. And just spread that evenly on the bread. And then on the other side, I'm going to put some slices of my honey baked ham. Just kind of distribute it evenly. I've got two slices here. That's kind of thick. Just slice, make sure that the bread is covered. And I'll cut an extra slice here. Just put a little more in the middle. And then I'm going to add, just for a pop of color, I'm going to add some baby spinach in the middle. I don't put it right against the bread because I find that it tends to make the bread a little soggy once it starts wilting down. So I try to put a buffer between the bread and any vegetables that I add, especially tomatoes. And then I'm going to put the bread together, and then, you guessed it, I'm going to put a little bit of margarine on the outside so that the bread is nice and toasty. Just spread a thin layer of the margarine on the bread, and then I'm going to put it butter side down, margarine side down, in my preheated cast iron skillet. And I may have to turn this up. I apologize for the noise. I know it was kind of noisy on my last video too, but you know, the way they have these apartments set up, the smoke detector goes off when you think about cooking. So I have to try to avoid it because my dogs are traumatized every time it happens. So I'm going to just toast that for a couple minutes. It was preheated, and I've got it set on about a 4, so that's medium low on my skillet, because it does heat up really, really quickly. And then I'm just going to take a spatula, so I have it ready, and I want to get the cheese melted, so that's why I tried to keep the heat kind of low. That way I can control the heat. And another trick that you can do to help it is to get some foil. I apologize, I should have had that out already. Get some foil and just kind of tin it over the bread. That'll kind of help the heat circulate a little bit and keep the smoke from going all over the house. And that will help you to melt that cheese a little faster. Now, if it's not fast enough and your bread toasts too quickly, I'm just going to check my bread. Oh, that looks good. I'm going to just flip it again, turn my heat down a little bit more, and just let it sit for a few more minutes. Now this sandwich is super versatile. You can add whatever vegetables you like. You could do some tomatoes would be fantastic. Like I said, I try to do a buffer between the tomatoes and the bread because they do tend to make the bread soggy. I usually don't order a sandwich with tomatoes on it unless I can make it myself. That way, you keep the bread nice and crispy on the outside and toasty while you have the juiciness of the vegetables. I can see that my bread is toasting nicely and my cheese is melting. Now, if you wanted to cheat a little bit, you could actually add this to a broiler on low and let it broil for about 5 minutes, and that would toast up the bread as well as melt the cheese. So what I'm going to do, if it doesn't, it looks like it's melting really nicely. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. And you could also just stick it into a preheated oven and cover it so that the bread doesn't continue to toast, but the cheese will continue to melt. Later today, I'm going to do a brisket fried rice out of some of my leftover brisket. I found a restaurant. It's a local, pretty local. It's in Spring, and I live in Montgomery. So they have done a fusion of barbecue and sushi, which I know sounds weird, but it is so amazing. So if you live in the area, I highly recommend the restaurant. It's called Q-Shi, with a capital Q, and then she as in sushi. So it was a very, very clever concept, and I'm addicted to their fried rice. It's just got chunks of barbecue brisket, and then my version of it is going to have some sriracha and lots of vegetables and leftover rice and some barbecue sauce. So it's going to be delicious. So I hope you can join me later or watch that video later. Let me check my bread again. My cheese is deliciously toasted. So melted, I'm sorry. So I'm going to take this and you can see the pepper jelly is starting to melt and kind of ooze out. So I'm going to take a serrated knife and I'm going to cut it in half, and then you can see the cheese oozing out. This is a gooey, cheesy sandwich. I don't know if you can see that. It's absolutely delicious. The cheese is coming off the sides. And that is lunch today. Grown-up ham and cheese sandwich. Hope you enjoy, and post in the comments if you have any variations that you've done on this recipe. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.